Wow. Hello everybody, my name is Lydia and I am here to talk to you about my book buying goals for 2020 and also kind of some of my reading goals and just where I'm at bookish wise. Last year was a year of personal growth for me where I kind of decided, even like the year before that I really had to get serious with managing my finances. It's one of those things that I've just never enjoyed doing. There was probably some stress around it for me when there really shouldn't have been. And there's a lot of things that go into that. I'm not a spontaneous person in a ton of ways, but I was kind of a spontaneous shopper, and I'm a big ideas person with certain things. So I'd be like, oh, I want to, do this, or, get a learning gift for all the kids in my life in this way, and I'd buy everything to make this. I don't know, I love, maybe that sounds weird, but I love giving gifts. It's super fun for me. I like composing gifts, kind of, and that's a big way of spending, but I also spend money on a lot of things. I never wanted to be one of those people who holds their money super tightly. I never wanted to be one of those people who went, well, I can't give because I'm not comfortable. I see people in my life and just around who act like they're poor when they're living completely comfortably and are very privileged. And I never want to be that kind of person. But that being said, not managing your money isn't the solution to that. You can still manage your money and be generous. You can still manage your money and do fun things. You can still manage your money and not be Ebenezer Scrooge. And I wasn't raised to think that way, I don't think. So I'm not sure where exactly I had some of those things. But a lot of it boils down to self-control too, and taking the time and effort to understand how to manage your money and do it, and have the self-control to say no on some of those unwise, spontaneous urges, even if they maybe seem like a good thing. Thing that I think you have to really realize is that if you don't tell your money what to do, it's going to tell you what to do eventually. It is going to catch up with you, and all of a sudden, if you don't manage your money, there's going to come a point where your money is managing you. And I kind of was at that point a little bit in 2017, 2018, and I didn't like it, and it was adding stress to my life for reasons, it was adding stress to my life, and it shouldn't have been. I have a comfortable income. I have a good living situation. I shouldn't have been so stressed about certain financial things. So I really had to kind of dig in the last year and a half and go, okay, how do I get to where I need to be? How do I value these steps? And I know I had all the head knowledge. I know savings are a good thing. I know all these different things are good things. But, when the rubber meets the road, I kind of gotten to a point where I didn't really have a bunch of savings that I could access, and doing or doing well are two different things. So it's really been an assessing and finding out how to do this without it being completely consuming. It's not my thing, okay? It's some people's thing, some people, they love finance, some people like accounting, I don't think most people do, but some people really like that, and they really enjoy that aspect of it, and it consumes a lot of their time, and I never want that. Like, I don't enjoy it. I push it off. And I never really wanted that. But in taking the time to really dig in and figure it out and try to find systems that work for me, it's become something I have to think about a lot less. And that's where freedom comes more once you manage your money and don't let it manage you. Like, it might be hard to try to get all your ducks in a row, but once they're in a row, things go a lot smoother. And that's not to say there won't be financial emergencies, medical emergencies, things that ruin your plan, and then you kind of have to readjust. But for the most part, tracking down your expenses, seeing where your money is actually going, getting a plan, setting up things like automatic withdrawals into your savings account so you don't have to think about it. It's not a, well, do I want to do that this month? Which kind of lets that decision rest on your spontaneous brain at the time. And just, it happens. And if you don't want it to happen, then you're going to have to go in there and change it. So, anyway, apparently this is becoming a financial video. But these are the things I've been wrestling with a lot lately. And last year, I did a really good job starting to set myself up for some success in this way. Really kind of managing myself, saying no to things. I didn't go on any big fancy trips last year. I didn't, I kind of stuck to my plans. I met with my financial advisor, my tax accountant, and I got things squared away with multiple different things. I kind of feel like it was like the end of 2018, beginning of 2019 that I completely like KonMari'd and decluttered my house. And like, you can kind of see where my brain's been at lately. And there's certain goals I really want to hit, and life goals that I've really zeroed in on towards the end of 2018, beginning of 2019. And in order to do that, I have to have my finances in a row, and I have to be saving. Like, these things are going to cost money, and that's the reality. And I have to choose what to do. I mean, it's on me. So I need to start now. So anyway, getting to the more bookish side of this video, one of the big things that I didn't do is really crack down on book buying. Like, I love reading and I love books, and I kind of still had that mentality where it's like, I don't want this to be a negative thing. I don't want to feel bad about buying books. I believe in supporting local bookstores. I believe in, supporting authors and the publishing company. Like, I never want books to go away. And I do read a lot of books, and we'll get into the actual stats soon. But I do read a lot of books, and I kind of let that be like the one area of my finances that I just let myself kind of do whatever I want in. But that's still, not okay, because I mean, it's okay to have money and buy books. Like, that's totally okay. But to just let yourself be an impulse spender in this little way is not really going to work for me moving forward, I don't think. Like, I'm still kind of a spontaneous person, and I still like buying things, so I don't think I'm going to ever budget. I guess I maybe shouldn't say that. I'm not somebody who is all or nothing at this point with my budgeting. Like, I'm not budgeting every penny, but I am going, well, this is my income. Where is it going? And I'm not like, well, you can never change your mind on every penny that you've budgeted for the month before, and you can't make any changes. Like, I'm not that personality type. I'm not that kind of person, and that still kind of makes me hate it. So I have to kind of take it in broader sections, and I might get to that point eventually. I kind of am like, well, here's where, like, people who talk about budgets, I feel like, whether it's Dave Ramsey or, the Financial Diet or like any of these people who really talk about budgets are like, this is where you have to be. And this is where everyone else who hates budgeting and won't do it is. And so I feel like I'm like, okay, well, every year I'm just kind of like giving myself some grace to get to a point that works. And maybe it won't ever be like this. Maybe it'll be like this, but it's still better than just being around up here without a plan. But anyway, the whole like, well, books are just the Wild West and you can do whatever you want with books isn't exactly working for me. So I have some rules for 2020, and I think a lot of you people, if you're financial people, will be like, those rules aren't even rules. They're incredibly lax. Um, I think a lot of people who are in the book community who love buying books are like, no, no books. I could never do that. Please hear me out, because I feel like what I'm doing, because I'm more like you, the second option, might actually work for you, and it might help you just tap the brakes a little bit and just kind of see what you're doing. I don't want. I buy books because I love books, and yeah, you can want to collect the things that you love and not have to read them all right away or whatever. I've certainly done that in the past, but I don't want to just hoard books like some kind of consuming obsessed, market controlled dragon. If I keep it up, it won't fit in my house. So I don't have a count on how many books I have right now. Like I said, and I wish I filmed this, the last year and a half, I have decluttered tons of my books. I've also brought a lot of books in, but I have gone through and went, I don't want this. I'm never going to read it. Some of the things I bought, some of the things people have given me, some things I got secondhand, and it was just really being honest with myself. Like, what is your fear about getting rid of this book? Like, someone else can enjoy it, or you can maybe even get it from the library again. People use that argument all the time, and I understand not being okay with that argument, because I don't just read bestsellers and I don't just read new releases. Like, I have a lot of obscure things that I like to read. I have a lot of old books and old authors that I enjoy reading, and you can't always just find those books at the library. And sometimes books go out of print, but that's certainly not the case for all of them. And that's not a good enough reason to necessarily keep a book out of fear that someday you might want it, we have pretty great eBay and digital uploads of old things. Like, we're doing a really good job with saving knowledge at this point in time. So I don't want that to dictate the books I'm keeping at this point. I do have some books that the real point, my real goal for this year is I don't want to be bringing books in that I'm excited about, or I think I'm excited about, and then put them on my shelf, and then the excitement passes and I don't read them. I'm tired of doing that. I did too much of that this last year, and I read a lot this last year. So let's just look at some of the numbers. Technically, I almost exactly brought double the amount of books in than I read. So here are my stats, and do not judge me, okay? This is a judgment-free zone. I purchased 292 books this past year, and I felt like I was being pretty self-controlled compared to the last couple of years. All right. 292 books, and this includes books, audiobooks, Kindle books, and this, if I bought a box set or a series, I counted those books all individually. This might not be a perfectly accurate number. I tried really hard to keep good records, but I wasn't, there was no Excel spreadsheets, and receipt saving involved. It was mostly me just being like, oh yeah, I bought a book, and then trying writing it down. So it's possible that I missed one or two. But these are the books I purchased for myself. 292 books, and so some of them were $1, some of them were, a lot of them were probably $3 on sale on Audible, etc. But a lot of them weren't. Honestly, I'm sure I have spent hundreds and hundreds of dollars on books this year, and like I said, everyone has to use their money how they want to, and I read a lot of books. I am still planning, I don't think I really unhauled any books I bought this year. I mean, a few I did because I read them and I went, I'm not going to read that again. I'm going to pass it along. But I don't think I like brought in books this year and then went, nah, and just got rid of them right away. So, and keep in mind, I bought 292 books, but I read 147. I read 147 books. A lot of them are kids' books, but I bought a lot of kids' books this year. I love children's books. I love reading them. I love reading them so that I can find the good ones, so I can buy them for the kids in my life. I adore them. So, yeah, I don't know. I that's still more than I want to purchase. I mean, that's a lot of books. That's a lot of books, and I know that some of that number this year was because I kind of wanted to round out some of my collections. Like I bought this big box set of the Roald Dahl books. I bought I tried to buy all the American Girl books that I didn't have because I had a lot of half series there. And I love those books and I'd like to have my children have them at some point. So I kind of used that line of thinking to buy a lot of books this year that added up to quite a few things. Like, oh, I want to finish my collections. And that's not like a bad impulse necessarily, but I don't need to do that this year. So, like I said, I purchased 292 books. I read 147 of them. So that's basically double. Like, it's like, so if you bought like 10 books and read 5 of them, that wouldn't seem like such a big problem, I guess. But 292 books is a lot of books. So I really, really want to not this year. So this year, my first rule was I am allowed to buy a book. And that doesn't mean just like one book for the whole year, you know, like I can buy a book when I see it. If I go to a bookstore or if I see a new release, I really want to read it, I'm allowed to buy that book, but I have to read it right away. That's my rule for the year. I can't go, well, I'm going to finish these ones first and then start that one later. No, I am going to read it right away. If I'm not going to, I'm not allowed to buy the book. And that allows me, because like my goal is to not buy very much. Like I want to read my collection, you know, like I'm okay with having some books in my collection that I am not like reading right away. Like I have a kind of a collection of like all the C.S. Lewis and Tolkien books that I'm slowly gathering books for, but I'm okay with having some of those authors' books to read throughout my life and not just having it all done right away. And there's some like educational books that I have that I'm okay not reading them all right now cover to cover. Some classics I want to get to that I don't have to have them all read by the age 29, you know? So I'm okay with having some of my collection be unread for a while, but there's plenty of books like middle grade and YA and just novels that I picked up because I wanted to read it right away, and now they're just sitting. And I might not even like them, so I really want to get through those books and either love them or pass them on to someone else. So that is like my goal for this year. I've very closely followed the Unread Shelf Project, I think since the year it started, basically. Please look her up. Whitney's awesome. I follow her on Instagram, and she's got like a website now and newsletters, and it's just constantly getting bigger and better, and she does challenges and all sorts of things. You can follow her, but you don't have to. I mean, like, you can do the challenges, but you don't have to. But either way, it's really inspirational, so you should follow Whitney. I'll try to link her Instagram below. But yeah, so that gives me, because like a complete book buying ban is not going to work for me. Like, I might be able, like, the goal is to buy less. Like, I don't want to keep bringing in books I'm not reading, so maybe I'll get through 2020 without buying, like, hardly any books. But doing a full-out ban doesn't put me in a healthy mind space. Then I'm just, like, lusting over the books I can't have and saving them to wish list so I can buy them as soon as the ban is over. And, like, I don't want to it's kind of like dieting with food, you know, when it's like, I can never have that thing, then it becomes this almost like idol in your mind. Whereas if your focus is not on the thing, it's just on like controlling yourself, it's a healthier mentality. So I'm allowed to buy like a book if I go to a bookstore and I really want to support them or whatever, but I have to read it right away. Otherwise, I can't buy it. I will keep my Audible subscription so I can get those credits and rack them up. I listen to audiobooks a lot, so I'm going to keep it. And I can download the 2 free Audible originals per month as well. Like, even if I don't listen to those right away, if I see something I really want and it's free, I'm going to let myself download it. I've tried to get a lot better about not downloading them just because they're there, though. Like, if I have a month and I'm not interested in any of them, nope, not going to download it. But I will let myself download the 2 free ones I get per month and get that credit and either get a book and read it right away or just save it. Because I do want to get through my backlog of audiobooks that I have purchased or gotten for free as well on my phone. I don't want to just keep on filling that library for no reason. The next rule is I'm allowed to buy books for others, but I'm going to try really hard to keep it only for birthdays and Christmas. Like, I love getting presents for others. I don't know. It's just my love language. Like, I'm not trying to sound great or anything. If anything, it's probably like selfish because I enjoy it so much as a hobby. But I love reading, and I have a lot of little kids in my life, and I want to encourage that in them. I want to encourage a love for books, and I know books are really hard to justify purchasing when you're a parent and you have a lot of little kids. Like, food and clothes, like, those things come first. And so I just really love discovering books that I find delightful and passing them on, because parents also don't often have time to like review and preview books, you know, to make sure they're okay with their kid reading them or what's in them that they might have to discuss with them. So I love doing that. So I'm trying to not be like, you can never do that, but like, I'm trying to focus on like, you can do that, but you need to then set them aside for a few months and save them, or, you know, make a list of what you want to get and then wait for Christmas or a birthday to gift these to the kids, because that will also help me with my budget for like Christmas and birthday gifts as well. Like, if I can try to consolidate it, I won't just be bleeding money for the fun. It'll just help me with my financial goals. Next rule, which I'm not going to try to do this every month. Like, I'm not going to try to let this be my outlet for book buying. But I am in charge of our church library. I have been the one mostly to curate it, and I'm like the librarian right now. So at this point, I have another rule that I'm allowed to buy 2 books a month for the church library, 1 children's and 1 adult. I'm not necessarily going to do this every month, but if I see a really good book and I'm like, whoa, I haven't got anything new in the library, like, I'm allowed to do that. So, I mean, if you total that up, that would be, 24 books purchased this year for the church library, which is close to the number I had last year. So, we'll see. Like I said, I'm not rushing out. I'm not trying to use this as like, well, let me search the internet for books because I really want to buy books, so this is going to be my outlet. But if I see one come out that I'm like, we really need this, I'm going to try to allow myself 1 for children and 1 for adults per month for the year. And then I'll still have, the activity going on, so people still keep utilizing the library and remembering to, go in there, and I can keep having announcements. And so, yeah, that's my next rule. And I just kind of have the goal listed at the end. My goal is to read through the books I bought or pass them on. Like, I can't just keep filling my house with books that I'm not reading. So I really want to crack down on that this year. And, like, that maybe sounds like a negative thing, but I'm really excited about it. Like, it kind of kills me. I look at these books, and especially seeing as I decluttered so many of them in the last year and a half, I look at these books and I go, I want to read all of these, but I'm not making time for them because I keep bringing in other new books. And that is my focus. And So I don't want to do a full-on book buying ban, but I really want to do a book buying crackdown because I just I like seeing all the books that are coming out new. I get excited. I'm very much a seasonal reader and like a mood reader, and I get really interested in a subject, and then I just want to read everything about that subject, and I do, like I say these things, and they're not really excuses. They're reality. Like I do. When Halloween comes around, all I want to read in the month of October is all the spooky books, whether they're older or new releases, and I usually do read like 4 or 5 scary books. But I don't need to buy all 8 that come out or that I see advertised, and that's kind of where it's like, well, read your spooky backlog. I think I still have like 4 books that I have to read that are like that I didn't get to last year. And I think I bought one new one that I didn't get to because I thought I'd be able to read more than I did. So I don't want to keep doing that. Like, if you see a spooky new release that you really want to read, Lydia, go for it. But you have to start it right away and you buy one at a time. And not the 3 new ones. So that's my goal. Like, that is my goal. Don't do the big hauls all at once. Like, I wanted to read you the rest of my stats for 2019. I bought 21 books for the church library, and I donated 18 of my personal collection to the church library. I think it might have been 16 or 13. It might have been like 15 because a couple other people donated books, and I don't think I counted those, but if I just had a list, they maybe got in there accidentally. I gave to others like 24-ish books. That doesn't count. I gave like my roommate a whole stack of like vintage golden books. I didn't count those all. I just counted those as one. But about 24-ish books throughout the year. Books others gave to me, the total this year was 13. Gifted by a bunch of different people. And I got rid of a lot of books from my collection. If you're interested in like a shelf tour or just kind of like another stat video of how many books I actually own in my collection and how many I've read, I did a video. I don't think I ever put it up here. I just filmed it in my Instagram stories, but I could edit it where I kind of like went through my shelves. Because I went through my shelves because I was convinced I wanted to do a shelf with all my unread and then put all my other books elsewhere. And I did it. Like, I took all the books off and I organized them out. And then I hated it. I just hated how it looked, and I couldn't keep it like that. I was like, this is too chaotic for me. So I, remixed them all back together. But it was quite a bit of unread books. So if you want me to kind of break down my plans of, well, these are the ones I really want to read through, and these ones I'm okay with being unread, and how many books I have, and how many unread versus read books I have, I'll definitely do that. I love that kind of stuff, so just leave me a comment if you want to see that. Please also tell me what your plans are for 2020. Are you limiting yourself? Do you have rules? Do you have no rules? Are you really excited about certain books? Just, I guess, how do you handle buying books? I know a lot of people use the library, and I would like to use my library more, especially just for a nice place to go to write a lot this year, and so I can look through the books there, as opposed to like, looking on Amazon at the new releases. Like, I think I might just try to more often browse my library a little bit, but for me, I like a lot of weird books. So they're not always at the library. And I know a lot of people, and I think I've mentioned this before in a video, and I want to say this in a way that's not making people feel bad for doing this, because you shouldn't. A lot of people will ask their library to get books for them, which is totally fine. But with some of my weird tastes, I feel kind of bad asking them to get a book for me that maybe only I want to read. And like I said, I make an income that I can afford buying some books. So it's kind of a balancing act there where like I could definitely utilize my library more than I do, 100%. A lot of the new releases I got last year, this year, I could probably find them at my library. And I could maybe find books that are similar to the ones that I want at my library for some of the weirder or older things. So I don't know. It's kind of a delicate balance. I really need to look at my library more because maybe I can utilize it a lot more reading wise than I think I can. You know, like maybe there's a lot more books there that I'm interested in than I think there is. So I love my library. I live next to a fantastic library. They have wonderful programs. Like I value them so much. It is such a great resource, especially for all the families that I know with all the little kids they have. But like I said, I usually zero in like this is the book that I want, and it's not always something that is probably at a local library. But like I said, if that is you, congratulations. I hope to be more like you. um, and that's just my personal thing where it's like I know I can afford the books, and I feel kind of bad always asking other people to buy the books for me because they have so many other people they could be buying for who maybe can't afford the books, or anyway, that's potentially another video for another time. But please tell me below what your plans are for the new year. Are you changing anything about your book buying habits? Are you buying more books, buying less books? Are you borrowing from the library? Do you have a system, or do you just kind of read how you feel? Are you already doing what I hope to do, which is to, oh, I want to read this book and I'm going to buy it and I'm going to read it right away? Do you keep your TBR at like 0? And I'm not even sure that that's my goal, but I do want to make sure if I'm buying a book, I'm reading it right away as I work through some of my pre-existing shelves. So yeah, let me know. What are your plans for the new year? Did you get a ton of books over Christmas? Are you looking forward to any specific books in the year ahead? Let me know in the comments, guys, and thank you so much for watching. Bye!